It's been 20 years since Pokemon Emerald was released. And what has me back in Hoenn after all this time? Nostalgia? Well, yeah, a bit. But mainly it's the fact that despite spending literally my entire childhood running around in tall grass, I've somehow never completed a single region's Pokedex. And now there's Pokemon games I haven't even played. And so I decided to challenge myself to complete every region's Pokedex, starting with my childhood favorite, Pokemon Emerald. But what is complete? I think most people would probably say beating the Elite Four, but I want to do a little more than just that. Plus, I still want to play and enjoy the games in my own way, which for me means not only completing my first ever living dex, but also trying to find every single Pokemon available on each route in Emerald without over-relying on trading. In other words, if a Pokemon is available somewhere in the wild in Emerald, I'll catch it as soon as possible. Even if maybe that's not the fastest way and means I'm surfing around in a tiny puddle for an hour looking for an angry jellyfish. And maybe along the way we can figure out, why did it take me 20 years to beat Pokemon Emerald? Because even this time nearly ended in failure. And of course I've attempted this in the past, but for one reason or another, I never made it to the end. But that's for later in the video. For now, let's go meet the neighbors. This lady doesn't even know where her kid is. And Brendan would help us catch our first Pokemon, but unfortunately he's really busy. Well, that's okay. Surely the Pokemon professor can help us out. Okay, maybe not, but Professor Birch does decide to give us a free Pokemon since I easily beat the Zigzagoon with a Plum? What the heck is a Plum? Well, I battled good. And now Professor Birch really wants us to go beat up his son with a Plum. Brendan's Trico was no match for Caviar the Mudkip, and as a reward for bullying our neighbor, Professor Birch was ready to entrust me with his specialty ordered Pokedex. And now we're finally ready to start what we're here for. Alright, where to go from here? I didn't really plan anything out yet. I could go ahead to Route 102, but there's multiple rare encounters there, and I don't think I want to start out with a double grind. Let's start with Route 103 then. Wingull shouldn't be too bad. Nice, I found it on my first encounter. Now it's time to make our first catch. I guess I should have stopped for Pokeballs first, but hey, at least it didn't take long to find. Alright, now I'm actually ready to catch my first Pokemon. Hopefully I can find it as quickly as last time. These Poochyena are just not leaving me alone, but this one managed to survive, so I guess I'll let it be our first catch. Only a couple of puppies later, and I finally found another Wingull. But before we head over to Route 102, let's start on my favorite part, amassing an army of Zigzagoons. They of course have the pickup ability, and while it was pretty OP in Ruby and Sapphire, allowing you to get a ton of rare candies, regardless of the Zigzagoon's level, the loot tables have been changed just a little bit in Emerald. But still, I've always loved having a party of Zigzagoons in the early game, and a little hit of dopamine every time I see them holding a gift for me. Plus, it'll help with funding the initial Pokeball stockpile. Alright, 5 Zigzagoons added to the party. I'm finally ready to move on to Route 102. And who are we gonna find first here? Okay, Wurmple. Not exciting, but still I will need a few of these. Wurmple's evolution is based on a personality value that you can't even see, so essentially it's random. I'll catch at least one Silcoon and Cascoon in Petalburg Woods, but it's only a 10% encounter right there. And since its third forms aren't found anywhere in the wild, we'll need at least one more of each to evolve into Beautifly and Dustox. So random or not, I think it might be faster to just evolve some Wurmple for the third evolutions. Got a little leafy boy. Oh nice, we found Ralts really quick. Okay, bag, Pokeball, before it runs away. Oh, wait. I forgot that Ralts does not know teleport at this level. Okay, great. Ralts is pretty rare and not available anywhere else, so that's one rare guy out of the way. In the meantime, I'll also level up some of these Wurmple while we try to lure out the 1%er. For some reason when I was a kid, I thought that defeating every single Pokemon instead of running away would somehow make the rare ones come out of hiding. Obviously not true, but eventually it works too, right? Because I evolved 3 Wurmple, all into Cascoon, and 45 minutes later, I finally have my first Seedot. I sure hope it's not going to take this long for all the other rare Pokemon we have to find later. And now you might be wondering, what about the version exclusives and the other starters? And while my challenge is to catch every Pokemon available in Emerald, even if it's found easier in another game, my ultimate goal is still to complete the Pokedex, so I'll actually need to play both Ruby and Sapphire for the 11 Pokemon available there that I can't get in Emerald. And while maybe that doesn't sound too bad, because of some complications, it actually means I'll need to play both Ruby and Sapphire all the way through the Elite Four, plus look for their exclusives along the way. But that's still far in the future, so for now I just started a new game in Ruby, traded over a Trico, and then a Torchic to get all the starters. Then I eventually found a Surskit to trade over as well. A bit longer than I would have liked to get to Petalburg City, and our first gym. But our dad won't even battle us until we have 4 gym badges, so we'll have to come back here later. But I did help Wally catch his first Pokemon. And now we're at the sea, as you can see. There's just a couple of guys to catch on Route 104, Meryl and Talo. There's a lot more in Petalburg Woods though, plus some that I want to add to my team. When I was a kid, I pretty much always stuck to using the exact same Pokemon, so this time I want to try using some that I wouldn't always pick. So I thought that there would be 2 good additions to the team that I could pick up here. And the first one's Silcoon, to evolve into Beautifly, of course. I am going to keep Bug the Cascoon for the team too, but I'm going to catch another one here for the box. Oh wow! I was worried we were going to be here for a while looking for Slackoth, but we got super lucky. A second Slackoth already? A third Slackoth? But where the heck is my Shroomish? That's the one I actually want to add to the party. It's only supposed to be uncommon, but somehow I found everything rarer than it, and not even a single Shroomish. Okay, classic. I just need to complain a little bit. I guess I shouldn't really complain though, because we did get all of the rare encounters out of the way pretty fast here, and we needed 3 of them. I saved an office worker from a wannabe pirate, and Bug evolved into Dustox. Plus, we got a Great Ball in exchange, which we'll be needing very soon. Now time to zoom through the north side of Route 104, pit stop in Rustboro City for Pokeballs and the HM for cut, and then all the way to Route 116. Hopefully that good luck from Petalburg Woods continues here, because Skitty only has a 2% encounter rate. But I'm also going to catch some Nincada, a Whismur. Oh wow, already a Skitty! That was so fast. Alright, I just need to find an Abra now. And actually, I do want this, not because I'm going to add it to the team, but I do plan to put it to use in another way pretty soon. Have I found 2 Skitty and no Abra? I'm having that same backwards luck from Petalburg Woods, but I'd like to find an Abra now, please. Finally. Alright, I have a few Great Balls. One courtesy of the Devon guy from the woods, plus 2 more from the Ziggy army. And it's gone. Okay, hopefully I find another one quicker than this. Yep. Alright, this is my last Great Ball. Please stay in. Oh, thank goodness. I fought some trainers on the route and evolved Silcoon into Beautify, but the tunnel past Route 116 is blocked for now until we get Rock Smash, so let's go smash Roxanne now. Caviar made easy work of Roxanne's gym, and I tried to sneak out, but I still got roped into helping defeat Team Aqua again to save Mr. Briny and the Devon guy, before being rewarded by being kidnapped and then forced into running errands. Hey, at least Professor Birch pretended like he was giving me an option and what he was telling me to do. But I did get a Pokénav and a free boat ride for my trouble. Alright, I'm actually gonna ignore everyone in Dewford Town except for this guy. When I was a kid, I thought the old rod was totally useless. Actually, I think I thought all the rods were useless. Because I remember fishing and fishing and fishing and only catching Magikarp. So naturally I thought that was the only fish in the game. But with my brand new old rod, there's a couple of things that we can fish up. Magikarp, of course, and Tentacool. These guys are pretty low level, but we're going to find their evolutions in the wild later, so I don't need to worry about having to grind them up from level 9. Alright, on to Granite Cave. I don't have the gym badge yet, but I can just bounce my way around the cave. There's a lot of new Pokemon to catch here too, and luckily nothing's too rare. I know I said before I was going to try to use Pokemon I hadn't used too much in previous playthroughs, but I am going to add Geodude to the team. And that's because I'm already having nightmares about Winona's Altaria. She gave me such a hard time more than once as a kid. Ooh, I've never used a Sableye before, so let's add that to the party too. Alright, I've caught everything we can in Granite Cave for now, so let's give this letter to Steven and time to put that Abra to use before it goes to its permanent home in the box. I'm really lazy and I didn't want to walk all the way back from Rustboro, so that's why I went to Granite Cave before taking on the gym. I'll let Mr. Stone know I delivered his letter and get the XP share in exchange. And now I can just hop through Petalburg Woods, back to Petalburg City for a quick pit stop to do some more fishing. And now that we have the experience share, I'm gonna grind my bugs up in Granite Cave for a little bit before I take on Brawly. Wow, I really thought I remembered Brawly giving me trouble as a kid, but despite my Pokemon being multiple levels lower, he really didn't stand a chance against the bug combo. And now it's time for the final stop on the SS Briny, Sleetport City. I'm gonna beat all these trainers first for some experience, and then we'll go look for Captain Stern. Timako is blocking the entrance to the museum, but I think I have to talk to someone else first. I honestly can't remember where he's at. Oh yeah, I have to talk to this random bald guy here just for him to tell me to go find Captain Stern. Very helpful. But that does waste enough time for Team Aqua to get out of the way, and now I can get into the museum. I beat some Team Aqua simps and saved Captain Stern, and finally got rid of these Devon goods. And now time to get back to the main quest, catching more Pokemon. Route 110 has a lot of new Pokemon to search for, but there is another rare encounter, Puzzle. But hopefully it won't be too bad. Well, Caviar did evolve from that, but I do need an Electrike to manage to stay alive long enough for me to catch it too. Alright, finally found a strong one. Now I just need to find Gulpin, Oddish, and... How did I find Plusle already? I haven't even found a Minun yet. Isn't Plusle the rare one? Okay, yeah, it is. What is up with this backwards encounter luck since Petalburg Woods? But honestly, I'm not gonna complain because we are catching a break since that 45-minute search for Seedot. And it didn't take too much longer to find a Minun. Now it's time to face our rival for the second time. I remember sometimes being stuck on this fight for ages, and even though it wasn't a total cakewalk this time, I think I still managed to win with aplomb. Now that we made it to Marvel City, I'm gonna grab my bike and visit the Rock Smash guy real quick. And then let's head straight to Route 117 to catch 2 more bugs. Honestly, I forget these 2 even exist sometime, and for some reason, Volbeat is only a 1% encounter in Emerald. Oh, I found it really fast again. Oh, you just have to find some way to be annoying though, don't you? I can't even manage to get a hit on it now. I'm gonna have to just start throwing Pokeballs at it, I guess. Look, I don't want you that badly. For some reason, acting like you don't care always works. With the 2 bugs out of the way, now it's time to switch back to Ruby. I played up until Route 117 there as well and caught a Roselia to trade over. And now it's time to take on Marvel Gym and Emerald. And luckily due to its typing, Marshtomp should have no problem with the next 2 gyms. It was a little closer than I thought it would be, but another gym badge down. Now that we can use Rock Smash, it's time to move on to Route 111. It's kind of boring here because there's no Pokemon to catch for now, but there are tons of trainers, including the interviewers Gabby and Ty, who we'll definitely be seeing a lot of later. Does every trainer on this route have a Pokemon with 100% accuracy Stunspore or something? Are you kidding me? Alright, I battled my way through all the trainers to Route 112, and there's only 1 Pokemon here to grab, but we have another grind in the Fiery Path. It hasn't been that long since we added Geodude to the team, but I'm thinking of replacing it with a Slugma. I haven't used one before, and we don't have any fire types yet. Plus, its evolution is a dual fire and rock type. I'm hoping with its rock type moves, it would be able to take care of the scary flying types too. Oh, once again, it's the uncommon Pokemon giving me trouble. I've caught everything here except for Slugma, and of course Grimer, which is only a 2% encounter rate. Okay, I finally found a Slugma. It lives in volcanic areas. If its body cools, its skin hardens and immobilizes it. To avoid that, it sleeps near magma. So, if I take it away from the fiery path, am I just slowly killing it? Well, luckily for Slugma, we can't leave just yet since I'm still looking for Grimer. Honestly, I had no idea you could even find one here. I've literally never seen one. Oh my god! It's a shiny! I still haven't found a Grimer yet, but I'll take this instead. And sorry, Slugma, I'm definitely gonna have to make space on the team for a new shiny friend. I swear I find a shiny pretty much every time I play Emerald, even though the shiny odds here are only 1 in 8,192. Alright, I finally got a Grimer, and I'm not even mad how long it took because at least I got that shiny. Okay, I just turned around because I realized Muck isn't catchable anywhere in the wild in Hoenn. And that means I need to look for a second 2% Grimer. And before you're like, but the daycare? Yeah, I did think it would be faster to just use the daycare to get an egg. And even though I have no Ditto, all Pokemon are separated into at least one egg group. So technically, even though I only have one Grimer, theoretically I could just breed it with a Slugma. But no, of course the Grimer I found was male, and the baby Pokemon is always the same species as the mother. But hey, maybe I'm gonna find another shiny. Alright, hoping for another shiny was just too much to ask for. It's a whole hour later, and finally here's my second Grimer. Just get in the ball. Thank you. Now please let me out of this cave. I'm glad to finally have a change of scenery. And I always thought it was fun to run through the snow here on Route 113. There's only 2 new Pokemon to catch here, and while Spinda is really easy, the other one is a little bit rare. But we finally have an opportunity to use my favorite trick. When I was a kid, I never used repels. I don't know if I just didn't understand what they did or forgot about them, but repels in Gen 3 are actually great because you can use repels to make it easier to find the Pokemon that you want. Skarmory normally only has a 5% encounter rate, but it's only found at level 16, while the Spinda and Slugma here are found between levels 14 and 16. The way repels work is by repelling away Pokemon that are lower than the Pokemon at the front of your party. So if we put a level 16 Pokemon in front, we'll only find Pokemon at level 16 and above. And by avoiding having to run away from all the level 14 and 15 Slugma and Spindas, it makes it way easier to find Skarmory. And luckily from this point on, we'll have the opportunity to use this quite a lot. So I'm going to grab this nugget and stock up on super repels. Unfortunately though, we can't use the repel trick on Route 114 while we look for this 1% Nuzleaf. And it's the same problem as Grimer. Boys! That Seedot that we caught way back on Route 102 was also a boy, so that means I need to keep looking for another Nuzleaf to evolve into Shiftry later. Well, at least by the time I found this second Nuzleaf, not only had I caught all the other little guys too, but Broccoli also evolved into Breloom. I switched over to Ruby and played up until 114 there too, so I could trade over a Zangoose. And now a quick stop in Meteor Falls. We'll just stand by and do nothing to stop Team Magma, but hey, that's not what I'm here for. I am here for the one and only Moonstone in the entire game. In Sapphire, you can at least find more on Wild Lunatone, but Emerald and Ruby have Solrock instead. And yeah, that means it's time to boot up Sapphire. I played all the way till Meteor Falls, caught a Lunatone, and traded it over with an extra Moonstone. I'm using the first Moonstone to evolve one of my Skitties into Delcatty, and the other one we'll save for later. Luckily this Solrock I caught is holding a Sunstone too. We don't need it yet, but we will later. Long bike ride all the way back to Mount Chimney to fight Team Magma's bots Maxie, and somehow only his Zubat gave me trouble. Now it's just a quick pit stop on the Jagged Pass to catch a Spriggy Piggy before we finally make it to Lava Ridge Town and grab the mystery egg from the lady at the hot springs. So, I have bad memories of this place. I'd always come in feeling all confident because I have a water type, except for one problem. But that's okay, because this time I've thought ahead. Plus, somehow, Caviar is already level 27, so we should be all good. Why is Water Gun barely doing any damage? Oh yeah, because Sunny Day decreases the power of water-type moves. No, now I'm paralyzed? Ugh, no! Okay, well, at least its special attack went down. Wait, and it has a White Herb? So I really thought Caviar was gonna have this in the bag. I mean, I'm literally carrying an egg right now. I'm baking it all on Broccoli now. Thank you for your sacrifice. Everyone's either knocked out or not born yet. Hold on, I am so dumb. Caviar knows Mud Shot, and not only is that also a stab move, but it's also a physical attack rather than a special attack like Water Gun. And Torkoal is also weak to ground, so it should do way more damage. Okay, that was a bit better. Now I just needed to paralyze. Please be paralyzed, please be paralyzed. Oh, thank you. Well, yeah, got another gym badge, and that's our fourth. So we can finally go to challenge Dad Norman all the way back in Petalburg. Oh, Brendan decided he wanted to be helpful now, but he still manages to insult me before he leaves. But thanks to the goggles from Brendan, we can finally go to the desert on Route 111 and catch some Pokemon. And luckily I can use the repel trick here again, right after I catch a Baltoy. I said right after I catch a Baltoy. Right, anyways, with the repel and a level 22 Pokemon in the lead, instead of searching forever to find Cacnea at only 6%, now it's the only thing we'll be able to find. Now let's head inside Mirage Tower. It's just Trapinch and Sandshrew in here, 50-50. There's a little bit of a bike puzzle on your way up the tower, but of course I made it in my first try. We can only grab one of the fossils here, and it doesn't really matter which one. For now, I'll just choose the root fossil. But ultimately, Lileep and Anorith are both only available one each through these fossils, so to get extras for their evolutions for my living decks, I'll need to remember to check their gender when I'm restoring them later, so I don't run into the same problem as I did with Grimer and Nuzleaf. And while we can get the other fossil in Emerald eventually, it's not until after beating the Elite Four, so I decided to make an exception, and also grab the Claw fossil in Ruby. Now I need to get back to Petalburg City. We could break through the rocks in Rust Turf Tunnel and pick up the HM for Strength before hopping through Petalburg Woods again, but I have a stop to make on the way, so let's take the scenic route via the Briny Cruise in Slateport City. Oh, my egg's finally hatching too. See, the scenic route was worth it. Now, my main destination before Petalburg City is Granite Cave. Obviously, Roxanne has a nose pass early in the game, but I'd never seen one in the wild, and I'm guessing most people haven't either, because you can only get it in the B2 floor of Granite Cave from smashing rocks. And it's not even a 100% encounter rate. Every time you smash a rock, it has a 1 in 9 chance you'll find a Pokemon. And then from that, it's only a 30% chance that it'll be a Nosepass. I think this is going to be my best bet. I'm going to save in between these two rocks here, smash them, and then just soft reset until I get one. Only 41 rocks, that's not too bad, I think. Now, let's get out of this cave and back to Petalburg. Now, I know I said I was going to swap Slugma out for our shiny Torkoal, but I'm really scared of Winona, and she's coming up really soon. So I'm going to keep him around at least temporarily to get some experience. Oh, here's a good chance to trial him out. That went, not great. You know, let's just take the other path for now. There's hardly any new trainers to fight in between Flannery and Norman, despite his Pokemon being several levels higher than hers, and pretty bulky. So I'm going to fight every trainer in this gym and get whatever experience I can. And except for that one trainer with the Swellow, everyone else just has straight normal types. So Broccoli can take everyone out pretty easily with Mach Punch. Alright, I got some experience from the right side of the gym. Let's get revenge on the Swellow. Okay, this is not going well. Hopefully Caviar can deal with this. You know, this would probably be easier if I had a nice physical type move that could actually hit Swellow. Alright, geez, that was way harder than it needed to be. But I can finally challenge the rest of these trainers. Broccoli did great on the entire gym, so hopefully Norman will be a piece of cake too. Yeah, no problem here. Just gonna use a quick revive. But similar to Flannery's Torkoal and Winona's Altaria, I have always been a little bit scared of this Slaking. I think I'm gonna use Slugma and Bug to whittle down his HP a little bit, and then we'll swap Broccoli back into... Why is he so fast? I thought he was supposed to be big and lazy. Okay, I have an idea now. I'll use Mudshot to lower its speed. Caviar didn't quite make it, but now Broccoli should have a good enough chance to punch this monster out. See, that Slaking is scary, but another gym badge down. We're having a nice, meaningful moment with our dad, but Wally's dad interrupts it. But I guess it's okay, because he gives us my favorite HM, Surf. Now, I'm actually really excited for this part, because having Surf opens up a huge portion of the map, and with it, a lot of new Pokemon. But when I was a kid, I absolutely dreaded this part of the game. Because for one thing, I had absolutely no idea where to go from here. But eventually I did look at my map and figured out that I hadn't been on the entire east side. So naturally, the first thing I did was go back to Mr. Briney's house. Only to find him missing? How am I supposed to get back to the rest of Hoenn? I thought there was only one option. Obviously, I had to surf all the way from Route 104, with no repels of course, running from a million Tentacool, and struggling to avoid the 30 trainers on the way back to Slateport City. As a kid, this was torture. It wasn't fun and I would just dread this part of the game and the slog back to Slateport and Mauville. But of course, there's actually two way easier paths that we can take to get back to Mauville City much faster. First, let's head home and talk to Mom. She's going to give us an amulet coin for beating our dad. I'm planning on using a ton of super repels pretty soon, so I'm definitely going to need this. Now, just north on Route 103 is the fastest way to Mauville City. It takes all of about 5 seconds to reach the eastern shore that connects Route 110 and then Mauville City. There's even a helpful NPC here who tells you about the shortcut. But I probably never bothered talking to him as a kid because I always tried to avoid random trainer battles. Actually, I still do that sometimes. I guess I'll clean up some of these old trainer battles I accidentally missed. Aw, baby shrimp evolved into Lanoon. Now let's head back to Mauville real quick. I'm gonna grab the new Mauville key from Watson. But before we head there, I'm gonna surf east on Route 118 to reach the other shore. And just like in Dewford, I'm ignoring everything except for this fisherman. He's got a new and improved good rod for us. And right here on Route 118, I can already put it to use and fish up a Carvanha. New Mauville is in a cave on Route 110. And while Watson's asked us to go there and turn off a generator, there's multiple new electric types to find. I want to use the repel trick for Magneton and Electrode, but I don't have any level 26 Pokemon. But you can catch Magnemite and Voltorb in here at level 26, so I'm leaving a party slot free and hoping I can get one of those, and then we can look for their evolutions easier too. Oh, what? I found a Magneton, no way! I've barely even been here, I can't believe I found this already. Well, at least now I can use this to help me find an Electrode too. I'm gonna turn the generator off, grab this Thunderstone we'll need later, and then I'll put the Magneton in the front and use a repel. I kind of mentioned it before, but the way the game calculates encounters isn't so simple. Just because we're using a repel to filter out the lower level encounters, doesn't mean that the rare encounters are increasing. So that's why with these 1% Pokemon, we can use an entire repel and not find a single Pokemon sometimes. Alright, that only took 6 super repels to find an Electrode. Still definitely way faster than running away from all the Magnemite and Voltorbs though. Oh, but on my way out, I'll finally let those two join the box too. Back outside on Route 110, I'll whip out our good rod again and catch a Wailmer. And on Route 117, we can fish up Corphish now too. And now onto the second path that connects West and East Hoenn, Rustturf Tunnel. I feel like this place is so forgettable because even though you do need to come here to get the HM for strength, it's not actually required until way later, so I've definitely forgotten about this place more than once. I helped the couple reunite, but Wanda doesn't seem too excited. She's actually Wally's cousin, by the way. This guy says he's looking for his lost glasses, but aren't they just on his face? Anyways, we can use the tunnel to get back to Rustboro really fast. I need to stop at the Devon building to drop off the root fossil to get revived. He says it's gonna take a while, but we still have more to do anyways, so we'll leave him to it. Let's surf north on Route 115 past Meteor Falls, and there's a little strip of land here with a tiny patch of grass that has 2 new Pokemon we can repel trick to find. With a level 25 Pokemon in the front, we should be able to easily find Swellow and 2 Jigglypuff. Yeah, that was so fast. I found all 3 in a single repel. But before I head back to Rustboro, we can stop inside Meteor Falls to do some fishing with the good rod. Wait a second. Is that its mouth? I've always thought that was its eye. Like a Cyclops fish. Anyway, let's just catch it. Back to Rustboro now. I'll use our last Moonstone to evolve one of those Jigglypuff into Wigglytuff. And by now, Lileep is alive and ready for pickup. And now it's time to head to Route 104. Now, I know I mentioned that I hated surfing from Route 104 all the way to Slateport City because I didn't know how to use repels. But obviously, I'm a repel super fan now, and we're about to use them on these routes to find some evolutions. Unfortunately, they're both pretty rare, so it's still not going to be very easy. We'll need a level 25 in the lead this time, and I'm just going to surf up and down Route 104 for a while. It took 10 Super Repels, but I finally found Pelipper. Now there's just one more Pokemon left to catch for now. If you surf almost all the way to Slateport City, stopping on Route 108, inside the abandoned ship, through this door, down these stairs, inside this cabin room, there's a tiny surfing spot, with an even tinier 1% encounter rate for a Tentacruel, supposedly. And with a level 30 Pokemon in the lead, it should be a little easier to find since we're filtering out all those level 5 to 29 Tentacool. But I've used Super Repel after Super Repel, and most of the time, I'm not finding anything at all. And when I do, it's just a really high level Tentacool. Now, I could just catch one of these Tentacool and level it up once and I'd have my Tentacruel. But that's not what this is about. And at this point, I just want to know if this thing even exists. It's been 55 minutes, 24 Tentacool, and 24 Super Repels. But finally, the abandoned ship Tentacruel does exist. This definitely wasn't super fast, but I think the worst part of this was the tiny pool I kept accidentally jumping out of. And with that grind out of the way, I think we're finally ready to progress to some new areas. Even though we're done cleaning up old areas, luckily there's still quite a few new Pokemon on our way to the next gym. Back on the east side of Route 118, it's Repel time again. Unfortunately, it's not going to work perfectly here either. We're looking for a 1% Kecleon, and most of the stuff on this route is also found at level 25. But we can still use it to filter out a couple things at least. And while we're looking for that, I should have no problem finding a Manectric and a Lanoon for the box. Geez, this was pretty unlucky. That took over an hour. But at least I had a lot more space to run around than we did with Tentacruel. I'm going to quickly pick and replant some of the berries here on Route 123. We'll be coming back here later, but just getting a head start on our berry collection. There's only 2 new Pokemon on Route 119, but one of them is famous for being a pain. But first, I want to get access to as much water as possible on this route. I found Tropius no problem before I even made it to the Weather Institute to clear out Team Aqua and got a cast form as a gift. It's time to face our rival again, but this time I'm ready and definitely beat him with a Plum. And got the HM for Fly as a reward. Oddly enough, this is the last mandatory rival fight. With Team Aqua and Brendan out of the way, now it's time to break out the fishing rod. I'm actually going to use the old rod for this, because the better rods, like the good rod, actually require you to succeed at the response minigame multiple times to catch a Pokemon. But the old rod only requires you to hit A once. And what we're looking for is available with any rod, which is of course Feebas. Time to fish and fish and fish in every tile. There's a few different strategies people use to find Feebas, but I'm going to try with an old rod and a Grimer with the ability Sticky Hold. The status menu just talks about held items during battle, but outside of battle it's even more helpful. It increases the chance of getting a bite while fishing from 50% to 85%. And it even works if the Pokemon's fainted, as long as it's in the front of the party. And that's what I'm going to do, because my Grimer is pretty low level. Of course, there is a tiny area up north that requires waterfall that I can't get to just yet, but you should be able to find Feebas on 6 different water tiles, so hopefully no one's that unlucky. And even if it is actually a Feebas tile, it's not guaranteed that you'll only find Feebas. So just in case, I'll fish on each tile twice, so hopefully I won't miss it. Alright, luckily I'm not unlucky enough for all 6 of my tiles to be unreachable, but I am unlucky enough that the first one I found was at the total opposite end of where I started. But hey, one ugly fish down. One nice thing about Feebas though is once you do find the right tile, you can keep fishing it up in the same spot. I'm going to catch multiple to hopefully get one with a nature that likes dry Pokeblocks, since that's what I'm planning to use to increase its beauty stat when I get around to evolving it. Before we leave though, there's one last thing to grab. You can find a leaf stone right in the middle of Route 119. So after arriving in Fortree City, I can finally evolve that Nuzleaf into a Shiftry. There's not much to do here yet since we can't get to the gym, so I'm going to head to Route 120 and we can get the Devon Scope from Steven and also look for Absol and Mightyena. Despite talking so much about being terrified of Winona, somehow I still didn't do a very good job of preparing for her. Slugma's temporarily back on the team to hopefully help with the rock throw, so let's see how that goes. Okay, not too bad with the trainers. Now time to face my fears. Alright, starting off strong, Swablu was no problem. Supersonic and Protect have to be the most annoying combo in the game. Okay, Torkoal did a pretty good job, but she's just wiping my team out now. So much for Slugma, I'm never taking one of these again. What do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Hopefully Sableye can do some damage. Oh man, Sableye is coming in clutch. This is definitely one of my new favorites for sure. The rest of her party is no problem now that I'm past that Altaria. So glad to finally be past Winona, if only just barely. Well, since I barely beat Winona, I think I need to be fighting every single trainer I can between here and the next gym. First things first, Slugma is going straight to its new permanent home. Also, I just realized I have no one in my party who can learn Fly. I really didn't plan this out very well. I think I'm gonna add Tropius as a temporary team member just to fly us around. The Safari Zone's on Route 121, but before we head in, let's look for Shuppet and Gloom out here. Once again, the Repel trick isn't 100% here, but Gloom's a little rare and we need 3. So with the level 28 in the lead and some Repels, it'll be a bit easier to find them all. I don't have another Leaf Stone just yet, but I do have that Sunstone that we got off of the Soul Rock earlier, so I can evolve one Gloom into Blossom. Now let's head into the Safari Zone. Wait, I need a Pokeblock case to get into the Safari Zone? Where do I even get one from? Okay, apparently from this lady inside the contest hall in Lily Cove City. Alright, now that we can enter the Safari Zone, we can catch all sorts of new Pokemon here. I guess this is why the Pokeblock case is required to come in here. Let's go start the Pokeblock grind for Feebas, and while I'm there, I'll just grind up all of my extra berries for the Safari Zone too. To turn this ugly fish into a beautiful Milotic, you have to stuff it with Pokeblocks to max out its beauty stat. And to make sure that it'll actually evolve, I'm using Kelpsie berries, which make a dry indigo Pokeblock, and a Feebas with the modest nature that likes the dry flavor. I made as many indigo Pokeblocks as I could for now, and while I don't think it's quite enough, I have some more berries growing still. And now we have some Pokeblocks for the Safari Zone. The Safari Zone is split into multiple areas, and we can access 4 of them right now, depending on which bike we're using. Each of those 4 areas has its own Pokemon we can catch, and by using Pokeblocks, it'll help keep the Pokemon from running off. I'll start in the southeast area, right near the entrance. It's Pikachu! And I also found a Girafarig, Doduo, Natu, and Wobbuffet here. And since I have the Mach Bike right now, I can go to the northwest area too. Rhyhorn's easy enough, but Pinsir and Dodrio are pretty rare. Luckily, Pinsir didn't give me any trouble though. Well, the Pokeblocks help keep him from running off, but it still doesn't make him stay in the ball. I wasted so many Pokeblocks on this Dodrio and still couldn't catch it after 30 Safari Balls. Alright, second try and it couldn't escape me this time. I can surf in the same area and find Psyduck and Golduck too. There's more Pokemon in the Safari Zone, but I'm pretty much all out of Pokeblocks now, so while I'm waiting for my berries to regrow, let's keep going with the side quests. Apparently there's something going on at Mount Pyre. It's mostly Shuppets inside the cemetery area, but if we climb to the 4th floor and above, there's some uncommon Duskulls. There's also the Sea Incense on the 4th floor, which we need Meryl to hold while at the daycare to get an Azurill egg. Outside on Mount Pyre, I scared off Team Aqua. Apparently neither team knows what their colors are, and Magma even left something behind. On the mountainside, I need to look for Vulpix, and then it's another rare up on the summit. Okay, this was supposed to be rare, but I found it in less than 10 minutes. Before I try to chase down Team Aqua though, I want to take care of some Pokedex matters first. Oh, and back on Ruby, I caught a Meditite on Mount Pyre and traded that over. Now, there's a few Pokemon that we need to breed for the Pokedex at this point, so let's just get a few out of the way. I'm going to stick my Meryls in the daycare first, with one holding that Sea Incense that we just got, and then the egg should hatch into an Azurill. I need to breed a few other Pokemon too, and they're all compatible with Meryl, so this boy's going to be busy. I'll leave him with Jigglypuff to get an Igglypuff egg, and then Pikachu for Pichu, and Caviar for more Mudkips. Oh, since we have that Thunderstone from New Marvel, I can evolve a Pikachu into Raichu now too. And while I'm in Marvel, I'm going to swap my Mach Bike for the Acro Bike too. Because all of that took long enough for all my berries to regrow, so I can make more Pokeblocks for the Safari Zone. And since we swapped our bike, we can get to a new area to catch Phanpy, Xatu, and Heracross. The only thing we're missing here now requires a Super Rod, so we'll come back one last time later. And since I finally have enough Indigo Pokeblocks, it's dinner time for Feebas. His beauty's all maxed out, and now he's a pretty fish. With all that done, back to the story for now. We can't get out of Lily Cove because of the Wailmer blocking a path, and we can't access the Team Aqua base yet either. The only option for now is infiltrating the Team Magma hideout on the Dragon Pass. I finally put that Strength gem to use for the first time for a boulder puzzle blocking the entrance. And there's one Pokemon we can catch here, Graveler. I'll have to battle my way through the grunts here, and just in time for a showdown against Maxie, Caviar finally evolved into Swampert. Maxie's surprised Pikachu face that his blue orb doesn't control Groudon, and somehow blames us for his mix-up. But with Caviar's new evolution, he did not stand a chance. He leaves us with no clues on where to go from here, but before we do leave, back on the fiery path and past the boulder puzzle, there's a Firestone, and we can use that to evolve one of our Vulpixes into a Ninetales. Back in Lily Cove, I still can't get into the Team Aqua base, but the grunts give themselves away and tell us we need to head back to Slateport. Archie and his simps run away with Captain Stern's submarine, but luckily he's nice enough to tell us exactly where he's headed. Unfortunately though, I accidentally went the wrong way in the portal puzzle and ended up at a dead end just filled with self-destructing electrodes. And by the time I made it to the submarine, they managed to escape. The only hint to their whereabouts this time is the big, wide sea beyond Lily Cove. We can't get to them just yet without the next gym badge, but with Wailmer's no longer blocking the way, we can access almost the entire map now, and you know what that means. Time to catch a ton of new Pokemon. It's just a short surf to Moss Deep City now, and per usual, ignoring everyone here for the last fishing rod. And this rod is super indeed. Right here in Moss Deep, I can fish up a Sharpedo. Then back in Lily Cove, I can fish up some Staryu. And now I can go back to the Safari Zone to catch our final Safari Pokemon. Besides the berries growing, another thing that time controls in Hoenn is the Shoal Cave. Depending on the time of day, the tide rises and falls, giving access to different parts of the cave. And now I can finally catch my favorite Pokemon, Spheal. Just look at the animation. I love it so much, I'm gonna catch 3. I'm not gonna add it to my team permanently this time, but Spheal will be a very big help very soon. We can also pick up a couple of Golbats here too. But I guess the real highlight of Shoal Cave is supposed to be during low tide, when you can access an icy room on the bottom floor. This just gives me nightmares back to the ice path in Johto though. I was stuck in that place for days. Luckily this puzzle isn't required to find the main attraction though, Snorunt. It's pretty cute too. Now, Archie told us to go look for him in the big, wide sea beyond Lily Cove, and while we can't find him just yet, we still have a lot to do. By surfing down to Route 128, I can fish up Corsola and Luvdisc. Before we do any more fishing, on Route 129, it's Repel time again, and our first step towards finding some legendaries later. With the level 25 in the lead and some patience surfing around, eventually I found some Wailord. Normally Wailmer doesn't evolve until level 40, and we need this Wailord soon, so it's actually a big time save. If we keep surfing all the way to Pacific Lodge Town, any of the routes west of it, including Route 132, it's a little rare, but using a Super Rod, I can fish up Horsey eventually. And I just realized I made a big mistake earlier. When I revived Lileep, I totally forgot to make sure it was a girl. And now I have no way to breed it for a second one to evolve into Credilli. I thought I was done with Sapphire for now, but I guess I need to go back and beat Flannery now and get the goggles from Brendan so I can get another root fossil. A little bit of a waste of time, but I have my second Lileep traded from Sapphire now. And while I'm trading, I'm also going to trade over the Anorith I revived from the Claw fossil in Ruby. Now this I did make sure to get female, as well as all the starters I traded over at the beginning, so I did some more breeding for extras to evolve. And now it's time to get real familiar with our 2 new best friends, Gabby and Ty. They rotate through routes 111, 118, and 120 each time you beat them, and with their team progressively getting stronger before maxing out on the 6th battle. And while initially it's pretty slow going between the 3 routes, what's great is after you beat them 255 times, they'll stay on Route 111 permanently, and then we just need to quickly bike to Route 112 and back to rebattle them. And you might be thinking, 255 times? That's a lot! And yes, that's right. We will definitely be battling them more than that, unfortunately. Initially, my strategy here was to use Caviar spamming Surf since it hits both of their Pokemon, with my Mooch Pokemon secondary and carrying an XP share for even more experience. But I pretty quickly realized two problems with this strategy. First, Gabby and Ty were just constantly knocking out my low-level Moochers. And second, Caviar was gaining experience way too quickly and I didn't want to end up with an over-leveled main team. So here's my new strategy. Steel is high enough level and bulky enough to survive the battles, so after evolving it into Celio, it's able to tank the fight nearly on its own. But the problem's still with the Moochers. I think it's probably best just to keep them out of the battle, and instead I have a better idea for the second Pokemon and for the rest of the party. I caught some high-level Lanoon on Route 118, taught them all Surf, and started rotating them as my secondary Pokemon, along with Celio. Of course, I'm mainly trying to level up all these Moochers to evolve, but when they're lower level, it's way safer to just keep them in the back of the party and holding an experience share. But by slowly leveling up a party of Lanoon, it increases the chance that they'll bring me back rare candies, and that'll cut the grind down even shorter. And what a grind it is, because I needed to evolve 37 Pokemon. Because don't forget, for a Pokemon with 3 evolutions like Trapinch, I'm not just leveling that stubby Sandfleece slowly to level 35 once, but twice. And then still to level 45 to have all 3 forms for the Living Dex. But finally, after 6 days straight of grinding, millions of experience, and lots of YouTube videos later, my Living Dex is looking pretty great. And now I'm finally ready to go take on the next gym. Like I said, I was careful not to overlevel my main team while evolving everyone for my Living Dex. But Tate and Lisa were still absolutely no match, and I easily beat them on my first try. Well, my first real try. And after clearing Team Magma out of the Moss Deep Space Center, Steven gives us the HM for Dive. And now we're free to go chase down Team Aqua finally. Of course, we have to chase down a few Pokemon first. We can actually already get to Sootopolis by diving in the cave in Route 126, and there we can fish up a Gyarados with the Super Rod. Now there's only one last fish to catch, but we need Waterfall to get to it. But at least we have Dive now. There's a few Pokemon you can only catch from diving, but I was having a hard time finding a good spot with a lot of underwater grass. But if you go just east of Lily Cove to Route 124 and dive in this tiny spot here, there's a ton of grass to swim around in to find Chinchou, Clamperl, and Relicanth, which will be very important soon. I'm also making sure to pick up all of these shards I find underwater too, because we can trade these to the guy on Route 124 for our missing evolution stones, including water stones for Ludicolo and Starmie, and a leaf stone for Violet Bloom. Clamperl also has 2 different evolutions using items, but not stones, and obtaining its items is a little weird. We have to go all the way back to the abandoned ship, dive in the Tentacruel room, do some hidden key puzzle just to find a scanner. And with that, we can trade it to Captain Stern for an item that evolves Clamperl. But only one. So that means I have to go play Sapphire all the way up to this point as well, do it all over again, and exchange another scanner with Captain Stern for the other item. And then I still have to trade Clamperl with each of the items to get it to evolve. And while I'm at it, I guess I'll also evolve some of the trait evolutions I leveled up earlier, like Kadabra to Alakazam, Graveler to Golem, and Machoke to Machamp. And since I caught Wailord and Relicanth earlier, we can actually catch our first legendary Pokemon. 3 in fact. All we have to do is fly to Pacifilog, go through this super easy Rapids puzzle, dive in the center and read this puzzle which clearly says, go up here. Then in this specific spot, with Wailord in the first spot of my party and Relicanth in the last, use Dig. And then by reading this message which says, congrats, you solved the puzzle. Now 3 caves have opened up in various spots in Hoenn, here, and here. Each one has a cute little puzzle to solve, and then I can challenge Registeel, Regirock, and Regice? The Reggies. My team wasn't quite prepared to face off against them, but with some stun spores and revives, eventually I was able to catch all 3. And now that I've pretty much scoured all of Hoenn, back on Route 128 where we were fishing earlier, we can dive to find an underground cave with a familiar submarine. Despite a bit of a level gap, Archie's team goes down pretty easily. There's a little bit of a global weather crisis going on, and Groudon and Kyogre are duking it out in the middle of Sootopolis. But after a bit of very investigative detective work with Wallace, we figure out that Sky Pillar is where we need to go. While Rayquaza is obviously the prize at the top, there's some new Pokemon inside the pillar too. With Repels and a level 36 Pokemon in the lead, it's easy to find both Claydol and Banette on any floor. But with a level 38 Pokemon on the 5th floor, I found Altaria immediately, even though it's only a 6% encounter. Up on the top floor though, Rayquaza leaves immediately, and by the time that we get back to Sootopolis, it's already breaking up the fight. But before I do anything else, we can actually just go right back there and find it again. But unfortunately, when Rayquaza took off earlier, it destroyed parts of the tower. But it's just a pretty simple bike puzzle. Anyways, the real problem is Rayquaza himself. He's level 70. Obviously, no one in my main team is anywhere near that, so I'm pretty much just relying fully on Walrein, who's been carrying the entire living dex on her back, leveling everyone who needs to evolve. And luckily, Walrein is bulky enough to withstand most of Rayquaza's attacks, otherwise I'd stand no chance of trying to catch him right now. But even still, Rayquaza's just annoying. He keeps using rest to heal himself, and when he's not doing that, he's outraging to the point of confusion and then hitting himself to death. But after multiple attempts, I got a lucky paralysis from Walrein's body slam, and then, somehow, I caught it in a Premier Ball, and it wasn't even in the red, because otherwise it'd kill itself. Obviously, if I used Rayquaza now, it would pretty much annihilate everything in its path, so I won't cheat, and he's gonna go straight to his spot in the box. Wallace gives us the very last HM, Waterfall, for saving Hoenn, and even better, he moves so we can go inside the gym. In the gym, you can of course skip every trainer by doing the puzzle correctly. With Broccoli in the lead, Juan's water type stood no chance, with a little shrink from Caviar to take out Kingdra. And now that we have Waterfall, we can officially access every location in Hoenn, but there's really only one place to check out before we head to Victory Road, and that's Meteor Falls. Back here, we can use Waterfall to access deeper parts of the cave and fish up Whiscash with the Super Rod. And in this tiny back room, you can find a Bagon. But I'm not only here for Bagon, it also has a 5% chance to hold a Dragon Scale, which I need to evolve Kingdra. So I got a spare Lanoon, taught it Thief, and went to work. And I swiped 20 Bagons until Thief was out of PP before I finally had no choice but to leave and heal at the Pokemon Center, where I decided to check the Bagon that I already caught, and of course, 2 of them had Dragon Scales. So with that luck, I traded my Kingdra to evolve it into Seadra, and also traded over the Dusclops I caught in Ruby's Sky Pillar. And now we're in the home stretch, just Victory Road in the Elite Four. We should be nearly done, right? But before going any further, I can Repel Trick with the level 40 Pokemon to find Hariyama and Loudred. Oh shoot, I totally forgot this Wally fight is right here. I thought it was at the end of Victory Road. I was totally not prepared for this. Luckily, Caviar always pulls through though. If this is how easy the endgame is, the Elite Four is gonna be no problem. Now time to bounce around in the basement for a little bit. And I'll catch a Mawile and a couple of Lairon down here too. Finally, freedom! We made it to the Elite Four! But hold up, I have some more Pokedex issues to deal with real quick. First off, I can catch Medicham and Victory Road on Ruby and trade that over. And now I have Loudred, Lairon, and Bagon to evolve. But that was nothing like the last time, so I just spent a little bit of time harassing Gabby and Ty again. And now, the time has finally come. Everything I've been working towards, just the Elite Four is standing in my way now. But I've been plowing through the gym and team leaders recently, and I have over 70 hours in this save alone, so this should be no problem. Glacia is really giving me a hard time, and I don't really have anything to go up against her ice types. Okay, one more try. Alright, I'm gonna try again tomorrow. And then, before I realized it, 5 months had passed by without me picking up Pokemon Emerald. Until one day it hit me. I had done it again. I had failed at completing Pokemon Emerald. I'd gotten 95% of the way there. I've caught 193 out of 200 Pokemon. I'm saved in front of the Elite Four, but somehow I still haven't beaten the game, just like every other time. And so I asked myself, why? What stopped me from completing the game when I'm almost there? And I finally came to a realization. Am I bad at games? No way. I played these games for over 20 years. And sure, maybe I had a little trouble with a couple of gym leaders. And okay, I did have to ask for help with that one bike puzzle, but surely I can beat the Elite Four, right? See, watch, I'm gonna go beat them right now. Alright, let's slow down a second and look at my team. I think my biggest weakness right now is with my lovely Pretty Bug. Well, Pretty, he really isn't contributing anything in my last few tries, and so unfortunately I think he's headed to the box. Then who should I add? I need someone that can take out Wallace's water types at the end, but also strong enough to help me muscle through Glacia's ice types too. And then it hit me. My rare little buddy from New Marvel. He was determined to be found, and he knew he was destined for greater places, and to greater places he is certainly heading. I took him to meet Gabby and Ty for a bit to level up, taught him Thunderbolt, and then we were truly ready to head back to the Elite Four. Nearly the entire team helped take out Sydney pretty easily with type advantages, but next up was Phoebe. I still don't really have anything super effective against her ghosts, but just having Magneton on the team helps so much. Through what I assume must be a super annoying combo of Thunder Wave and Supersonic. And Sableye and Caviar helped take out the rest of her team. My nemesis Glacia was no longer a threat since Magneton zapped through her dual water and ice types, while our shiny buddy took care of all the pure ice types. But I did have a problem. I was still needing to use multiple healing items each fight, and now I was running out of them fast. Of course, I had a ton of money from beating Gabby and Ty, but I didn't want to just brute force my way through with 99 full restores, so I stuck with what I already had in my bag. But I did have some thoughts before heading into this, so I taught Caviar Blizzard to help against Drake. And thanks to the 2 times and sometimes 4 times type effectiveness, and some luck with its accuracy, Caviar was able to take out Drake's dragons. But it wasn't without losses, and now I'm down to only 3 potions going into the champion fight. And his team completely outlevels mine. His Wailord kept trying to spam Blizzard to take out Broccoli, but with Stun Spore and some luck, I managed to take it out instead. I brought back the Thunder Wave and Supersonic combo from Rattata, and then I got a lucky freeze with Blizzard to take out Gyarados. Ludicolo could have given me some trouble since its dual typing makes Magneton less effective, but I used the TM to teach Sableye Aerial Ace right before the battle, so even though he tried to spam double speed, he couldn't escape us. Caviar took out our rival Tentacruel in one shot with Earthquake, and then finally, Broccoli drained Wishcash to death. And with that, my Pokemon journey is still not at an end because after beating the Elite Four, there are still 7 Pokemon left to find. One of them is easy, kind of. Stevens left us a Beldum as a victory prize, but the problem with Beldum is it's genderless, meaning it can't even breed with another Beldum, and we need 3. Luckily, I have Ruby and Sapphire just waiting for me to beat them, and I was a lot smarter about it this time. I pretty much did the world's slowest speedrun in Sapphire and blasted through the Elite Four with Kyogre, then traded over to Ruby and did the same thing. Afterwards, I picked up Beldum on both games and traded them over. Now, the only problem is evolving these little guys. They're in the slow leveling group, meaning I need to get over 100,000 experience to evolve them both. But this time, I was actually prepared. See, the Ziggy army came through with those rare candies. So it only took a few minutes to evolve both of my Beldum into Metang, and then use all of my rare candies to evolve one into Metagross. And with that done, I had the worst out of the way. Or so I thought. After all, there's only 4 Pokemon left, and 2 are easy. By visiting the Weather Institute on Route 119, now they'll tell us where weird weather activities are happening. And by going to those routes, you can find a new cave or dive spot that isn't normally there. Oh, shoot. I don't know why, but I thought you'd be level 40. Oh, geez, I am very underprepared for this. I still have Walrein in my party from leveling the Beldums. Oh, great, he has rest too? This is so annoying. Okay, every time it sleeps, I'll just surf. I don't know why I'm using Pokeballs. I just love making things harder for no reason. Nice, so one down. And now essentially I'll use the same strategy to catch Kyogre. Now we just have 2 left, and boy oh boy did I underestimate these 2. And who's left? Latios and Latias. Which one you have in Emerald depends on which color you choose to see on the TV after beating the Elite Four, and I chose red for Latias. In Ruby and Sapphire, which one you get is the opposite color of your game, so I can catch Latios in Ruby. And while they're a little annoying because they're both roamers, it's really only annoying finding them the first time, since after that we can use the Pokédex to find their location. Or at least that's what I thought. After spending over an hour going in and out of this house on Route 110, going in between routes 118 and 119 a million times, before finally finding Latias, I thought I had the hardest part done. And then I thought I was being smart by spending a bunch of time breeding a Gardevoir with the Dusclops to get a Ralts with the egg move Mean-Look, which prevents a Pokemon from running. But then I realized Gardevoir doesn't learn Hypnosis until level 51 in Gen 3. And Thunder Wave isn't a TM here, so it can't even learn any status inflicting moves. So I had no choice but to just slowly whittle its health down and hope I could catch it without sleeper paralysis. And no way am I using Pokeballs here. This thing is gonna look great in an Ultra Ball. And with all those lessons learned and hours of time wasted, I was ready to go do it all over again in Ruby. Yeah, I'm just using a Master Ball here. It already took 45 minutes to find it one time. And after trading it over to Emerald, our Hoenn Living Dex is now complete. And I have to say, I do think I managed to do it with the Palm. But wait, don't leave yet. I have a couple of things left to do. First, I can collect my diploma from this guy in Lily Cove. And I have somewhere special to put it. Oh, you're still here? This is my very first YouTube video, so I really appreciate you making it this far. I'm playing Pokemon Platinum next, so subscribe if you want to see that.